The Snetterton 300 circuit is the venue for the third and fourth races of the year in the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship, and more than 40 cars are here this weekend. But before we get down to the action, let's find out what's happened already this season. Patrick Mortell, the Formula official. We've had one round at Brands Hatch. How's the season looking so far?
It's shaping up to be very, very interesting actually. The guys that we predicted were going to be the front runners either had issues or didn't quite perform as expected. We had one or two surprises at the front. The Roadsters have come through as we hoped they would. And Ben Rowe got his first win after I think 6 or 7 years in the MR2 Championship.
And of course the Brands Hatch, we saw the Roadsters come to the fore, as you say. How will they perform around here at Snetterton? Quite a different circuit.
Yeah, quite a different circuit, and particularly the two guys that did well, Stuart and Mick Nicholls, that's their local circuit, so they spent a lot of time there. This is much more of a power circuit, so we're really not sure how they're going to do it. It's just a question of whether or not they can carry the speed out of the corners and onto the straights.
Steve Lumley, front runner in the MR2s in the past, but making a return this season. Tell us about that.
Yeah, to be honest, had 3-4 seasons running at the front in the MR2 Championship. Decided to take a year out with 3 young children, and to be honest, whilst I enjoyed that, I really missed the championship. Fantastic championship, so I'm back here today at my local circuit for Snetterton for a ride out.
Absolutely. Are you going to be doing the rest of the season now, or is this just a one-off at the moment?
Well, we'll see how we get on this weekend, but I'm hoping to go to Rockingham and maybe Pembury, where we didn't race a few years back.
Alex Knight, it was a real roller coaster of emotion for you at Brands Hatch. Had the win as you thought, then a jump start penalty, and then that was rescinded. Tell us about the emotions that day.
Yeah, you're right, Ian. It was an absolute roller coaster, and unfortunately, I didn't see the board on the lap, the warning board. So it was you that gave me the bad news as I came in. Thanks very much. But we appealed it, and I did in fact have a camera in the car. So They reviewed it, looked at it, and decided that the penalty wasn't there. I hadn't jumped the start, so back to winning. It was a great start to the season.
Yeah, you've just been really pleased with how Brands Hatch turned out overall, with a couple of top 6 finishes.
Delighted, yeah, really delighted. I got a pretty bad start in the second race, probably because I was thinking too much about the first one, to be honest, and kind of got squeezed on the outside by both the Nicholls boys. But still I think I held 4th for most of the race, and then John Wilson got me at the end. I have to say, I think my fitness let me down at the end. I wasn't strong enough at the end to hold it through, but hopefully today we'll see if we can repeat maybe not repeat the win, but repeat the podiums.
Well, Alex Knight is going to line up on the 5th row of the grid for this 13-minute plus 1 lap Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship race. The cars just coming out onto the circuit now. We had 39 entries, 3 drivers didn't make it out for qualifying, but we'll nevertheless have 18 rows of Mark 2s and Mark 3s for this race around this 2.99 mile circuit. And on pole position, it's Stuart Nicholls in the number 88 car, twice the bridesmaid at Brands Hatch. Next to him is Jim Davis, who traced his problems at Brands Hatch to a failed catalytic converter which blocked the exhaust. Further back on the grid, Mark Bithry, the inside of row 4, that's his best ever qualifying position. Well done to him. Mick Nicholls back down in 13th on the grid. Matthew Wallis, another of the pre-season favourites, lines up on row 8. Jonathan Grimes is another of the roadster drivers, that's the Mark 3 cars. Mark Barber, the 29-year-old engineer from Northampton, is just behind him on the grid. Mark Snelling lines up 25th. He's a former Fiat racer, switching over to the MR2s, as a few drivers have done. Then Martin Fahy in the number 29 car, the 44-year-old from Birmingham. He has taken over the ex-Paul Hinson machine. So we're all set for racing then here at Snetterton, and it's a new venture for many of these drivers around the 300 circuit. The red lights have gone out and the race gets underway, and the field streams down towards Riches for the first time of what will probably be 7 laps, and it's a good start from Jim Davis there from the outside of the front row of the grid. I think he's got the lead, yes he has, as they turn into the right-hander for the first time. Does everyone make it through Riches safely? It's a bit fraught down there at the best of times on the first lap of the race, but it's not too fraught for Jim Davis, because look at this, already he's got a big lead. Now we go on board with Mick Nicholls, car number 89. He started further back on the grid than he would have liked. Oh, what, he's been collected! Now who is that by? I think that could well be the car of Dan Holmes that made contact with him. Oh, and look at this, there's more panel bashing as the cars accelerate their way out of the Montreal hairpin for the first time. I think there'll be quite a few bent wings out there, and there's problems for the number 9 car, which is Paul Hudson. He has run wide on the exit of Montreal hairpin and rejoins. Here's a replay of that. It was all serene for Jim Davis, but yes, the cars arriving in all kinds of funny places. I think Dan Holmes had got pushed wide onto the grass, which is still wet from the rain yesterday, and that put him into the path of first Mick Nicholls, and also Mike Wells there in the number 37 car. He also came off quite badly out of that, having just returned from service in Afghanistan, and the number 9 car as well, also hitting problems. This is on board with Matthew Wallis. This is what he saw. Ooh, yes, and the green machine of Dan Holmes riding up and over the back of the roadster of Mick Nicholls. And that's the problem when you qualify further down the grid than you're expecting, really. You do get embroiled in that kind of thing. Well, Stuart Nicholls didn't make a very good start, did he? He's down to 4th place now. Matt Palmer there in 3rd, but a brilliant start was made by John Wilson. He's in that blue and white number 77 MR2, you can see up the road. He started on the outside of row 3, so he had a very good getaway. Slot in behind Jim Davis, the tyre retailer from Stratford-on-Avon. Looking back now, you can see the 23 car there of Tim Heron. He's a driver that's going pretty well. He started on the outside of the 4th row of the grid here. And there is that number 45 car, which is Robert Wells, of course. Down to Brundtland Nelson for the first time, and this is a circuit which has some long straights which suit the more powerful Mark II cars, but quite a few corners as well which suit the Mark III Roadsters, and it's the Roadster at the moment that's winning out in the form of Jim Davis, making up for the disappointment of Brands Hatch, where he failed to finish either race. And talking of failing to finish either race, Matt Palmer also had problems there, and he is in the thick of a battle for 2nd place here. Palmer, I think it's fair to say, was many people's pre-season favourite for the championship. Had all kinds of problems with the clutch and the gearbox at Brands Hatch. That dropped him out of contention. He wasn't able to take the start of the 2nd race. He's in 3rd place here, but he's got a bit of work to do to catch up with Jim Davis, who's in the outright lead of the race. Through Riches then for the 2nd time. There's Tim Heron. He's just ahead of Steve Lumley in the number 58 car, the returning driver, who's made up some places on this opening lap. Here's the fight for 2nd place then. John Wilson in the number 77 car. He's returning to the championship this year, and a spin, I'm afraid, for number 45. Well, that's Robert Wells, isn't it? So he has had a moment at Montreal hairpin, loses a little bit of time, but not too much in the way of places. Jim Davis it is that still leads then. John Wilson in that number 77 car in 2nd place. He's former auto test driver. Stuart Nicholls arriving very quickly at Agostini, and that puts Matt Palmer out wide. There was a little bit of contact, unintentional I'm sure, on the back of Matt Palmer's car, and look at him now, he's lost several places. He runs all over the grass on the way down to Hamilton. Hertfordshire man Stuart Nicholls continues. I'm sure he didn't intend any contact there, but that has meant that it's actually got a little bit more spread out now at the front of the field. Tim Heron has made it through into 3rd position. I think Matthew Palmer there back down in about 7th place now because of all of that. So heading through Williams and onto the Bentley Straight. There's the winner of the previous race, number 7, that's Ben Rowe. He started this one from the inside of row 3. The Devonian has had another tortuous journey to get to Snetterton this weekend, as he did at Brands Hatch. Always seems to have some problems on the way to the circuit. Here's Stuart Nicholls then, twice in 2nd place in the results at Brands Hatch, challenging the Mark II car of Tim Heron there in the number 23 machine, the driver in his 2nd season of racing, and going through on the inside to take 3rd place away then is Stuart Nicholls. So Tim Heron, the 23-year-old software developer from Warwick, goes down a place but fights back at Corham, but goes back into 3rd place. So Stuart Nicholls very briefly into 3rd position. Nicholls in 4th, and then you can see there's a change going on for 5th place because Ben Rowe coming through on the inside at Murray's there to get the place away from Steve Lumley, who lies in 6th position. It's great to see the Mark II and Mark III cars battling it out. They run in separate classes, of course, but this season for the first time points being awarded based on overall finishing positions as well, which is increasingly relevant because, as you can see, the Mark IIIs are in contention for outright position for the first time really this season. As through on the inside goes Steve Lumley to get 6th position, or 5th position I should say, back away from Ben Rowe there, up towards Montreal. Ben Rowe now trying to go around the outside, but leaves his braking far too late for the corner, runs out wide there. That lets Matt Palmer through as well. Alex Knight is also going to have a go in the number 33 car, the winner of the first round of the championship, the Glasgow-based restaurateur. Here's Mick Nicholls. Oh, Mick's car has been attacked again, this time by number 50 Anthony Halls. He's been spun around And Mick Nicholls' car, which was looking pristine, is now looking very second-hand indeed. Now, the bodywork is badly damaged. I don't know if all of the key suspension parts are hanging on and still working as they should, but I suspect some of that bodywork is going to part company before too much longer. Here's Tim Heron in car 23, so he is tracking down Stuart Nicholls again, so he's lost out once more in this fight for third place. Up front, of course, it is still Jim Davis that leads, and John Wilson in second place, the 57-year-old from Worcester, part-time stunt driver, as well as an IT specialist. And that battle for third and fourth between Stuart Nicholls and Tim Heron turns its way through Nelson. Now towards the bomb hole they will go, with Stuart Nicholls putting a bit more daylight between himself and the slightly paler blue car, as they head now to Coram once more. 23 car, hopefully putting his number on the back of the car as well, is Tim Heron there. Good to see him out and doing so well in his second season of racing. Enjoys mountain biking as well as taking part in motorsport. That's the next Rogue Motorsport car that he drives. Talking of Rogue Motorsport cars, there is Alex Knight's number 33, just in behind number 7 Ben Rowe. So it's the two winners from Brands Hatch last time out that are now slugging it out, and they are in, I think, 6th and 7th positions at the moment. Matt Palmer meanwhile is swarming all over the back of Steve Lumley in the number 60 car now. His previous number 58 having been taken by Mark Bithry, who qualified well but has dropped back down the order a little bit. So this is the fight for 5th and 6th. It's 7th and 8th being occupied by Ben Rowe and Alex Knight at the moment. The cars make their way out of Montreal Hairpin once more, down towards the left-hander at Palmer. I was getting to grips with this new infield section of the circuit. Some more of the Rogue Motorsport cars coming through. You can see there the number 24 car, which is that of Martin Farrelly, another newcomer to the championship. It's good to see so many new drivers out there. He's from Fleet in Hampshire, 40 years of age, and retirement, it seems. Someone out of the race that could well be Andy Franklin. We've already lost Shane Mansbridge, I'm afraid, another newcomer, the 31-year-old from Colchester, now living in Norwich. Oh, and Ben Rowe's off, and that is at Oggies. Now, he was battling there with Alex Knight. There was no contact, I don't think. That was just Ben making a mistake all on his own. We've seen him already at Montreal Hairpin. He's late on the brakes at times. On board with John Wilson, and look, he's homing in on the race leader now, Jim Davis, using the toe, pulling out of it now, under the Snetterton Bridge, into the left-hander at Brundle. Does he go through? Yes, he does. And he slots in now ahead of Jim Davis's car. And so down the straight, the power of the Mark II did tell there, I think. And John Wilson in the car co-owned by Hennessy Motorsport goes through into the lead of the race. Engine this season has been rebuilt by Rising Sun Racing. Now look, Stuart Nicholls has got himself involved as well, as those two have been battling. We've now got two of the roadsters inside the top three. Nichols is trying to go around the outside of Jim Davis at Murray's, and it's worked. He's gone through to second place. Well, Jim Davis just beginning to get mired a little bit here. Here's Tim Heron. He's not too far away, and we've got black and orange flag being shown. The orange meatball flag, as it's known, that is being shown to Mick Nicholls with bits hanging off his car. He's going to be hauled into the pit lane for a check over. Unless those bits can be secured, he's not going to be allowed back out, I don't think. Here's Stuart Nicholls, now attacking for the lead. John Wilson is on the inside line, Stuart Nicholls on the outside line. It's then going to be the inside line for the next corner for Nicholls, but he has to slot back in behind. Once again, Jim Davis just seems to be losing a little bit of ground there. I wonder if he's got some kind of intermittent problem that's now affecting him. Yes, while race leader Jim Davis now in third place, and having become rather spread out, we've now got 6 cars for the lead again, haven't we? So we've got Wilson, we've got Stuart Nicholls, then we've got Jim Davis, 4th place Tim Heron, and look, looming at the back of this group with his green mirrors is Matt Palmer. As Agostini, Jim Davis tries to go around the outside of Stuart Nicholls, fails to do so. We go on board now with Stuart Nicholls peeping out through the rear window. See the spoiler, and we can also see the number 11 car of Jim Davis. Stuart Nicholls is a cameraman by occupation, and we're getting some good views from the cameras inside his car here. Looking forward now to see the John Wilson machine up ahead. Well, John Wilson's not won one of these races before. Neither has Stuart Nicholls. So could we have a new winner here at Snetterton today. Now looking back again, and you can see that Stuart Nicholls is putting daylight between himself and Jim Davis there. They go onto the brakes and Davis able to close up a little bit under braking. So it's 3 for the lead, and Constantine are right up now as they go through that slow right-hander at Nelson. It really does bunch the pack up, and you'll see that Matt Palmer has now made up a place. He's gone up to 5th at the expense of Steve Lumley. Down to Coram they go. A great fight this race. Towards the end of this race now. Well into the second half, on board with Tim Heron. He's lost out now because Matt Palmer's gone through at Coram. He's gone to 4th, and Heron has gone down to 5th place. Palmer didn't test yesterday, but he did do some pre-race visualisation of how to drive the Snetterton 300 circuit while sitting on his bed, would you believe? Here's the 22 car, and that is Mark Barber, the Northampton, I beg your pardon, engineer in his first season of racing. A new car, just done a little bit of karting as Mark. So it's the final lap now for the race leaders. Wilson, Stuart Nicholls, and Jim Davis is still sticking with them in 3rd place, so he's looking good for a podium finish. I think there was a gap between him and Matt Palmer, and now Stuart Nicholls goes for the lead down the inside at Agostini, and he's made it work. And John Wilson's been elbowed aside by the second of the Rogue Motorsport Roadsters as well, because Jim Davis goes through to take 2nd place now. Through the left-hand kink at Hamilton. The next corner is the right-hander at Oggies. A tight corner. It is Nicholls leading, Davis 2nd, Wilson is 3rd, and Palmer is in 4th position. But very slow out of Oggies was Jim Davis there, and he's been mugged, hasn't he? Because John Wilson goes through, Matt Palmer goes through, Steve Lumley goes through, Tim Heron goes through. Oh, does he? No, he spins. Tim Heron spins around on the exit of Williams. Just as he was going to get past Jim Davis, he's had a big moment, gone out all over the grass, and Alex Knight, by the looks of it, has gone off in an avoidance as well. Well, meanwhile, Stuart Nicholls leads the race, John Wilson is 2nd, and Matt Palmer is 3rd after all of that, but Jim Davis, I'm afraid, seems to have had another attack of the Gremlins, because he's lost quite a bit of ground now. He's still there in 5th position, and he would have been further back as well had Tim Heron not had that moment. Now, Matt Palmer here is still thinking, I can get 2nd. He's going to look up the inside of John Wilson now as they go into Coram, which is not a great overtaking opportunity, but he gets his car halfway alongside. It's going to give him the outside line for the left-hander at Murray's, though. Who is going to be bravest into the corner? The 2 blue Mark II MR2s go round the corner side by side. I didn't know that you could do that, but obviously you can. And they're side by side now as they run up to the line. Palmer just with his nose ahead, but it looks like Wilson carries more speed out of the corner. Both of them with their foot to the floor. As Stuart Nicholls finally takes his first win in the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. 2nd just goes to John Wilson. Matt Palmer is 3rd. Steve Lumley is 4th, and with problems towards the end of the race, Jim Davis is 5th. But it's going to be side by side for 6th and 7th as well, and it's just going to be Lee Gambell that gets the position. Tim Heron is 7th, Matt Wallis comes through in 8th, having climbed up the order. Well, victory there for Stuart Nicholls, and he'll be very pleased indeed to have finally grabbed his first win. Here are the results then. The winning margin in the end was 2.08 seconds, but only a 10th between Wilson and Palmer in 2nd and 3rd. Lumley, Davis, Gambell completed in the top 6. Stuart Nicholls got the fastest lap as well, 2:21.04 seconds. Well, let's hear what Stuart Nicholls made of that. He's with Matt Suckling.
Stuart Nicholls, well done on your victory there. Top step of the podium, how does that feel?
It was hard earned at the end there. I think I was back in 3rd at one place with John Wilson ahead of me and Jim Davis, and then I just gradually wore them down is what it felt like. Wore me out anyway.
And with one make racing, we don't normally see a gap of that margin, but the last lap everyone was fighting behind and you were left to go to the flag.
I've got to be honest, once I crossed the line with that last lap board out and I made that move into Agostini, and then they started to squabble behind me, and it just gave me that bit of breathing room just to take Coram. I went wide around Coram as well. Just gave me that breathing space just to kind of bring it home.
You've got to try and do the double now. The race 2 is on the way very shortly.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get a better start this time, not so much wheel spin.
John Wilson there finishing in 2nd place. It was quite an action-packed race. There was lots going on around you. How did you see it from your point?
It was really good. I had a great start. I managed to squeeze through 2 cars to start with, and actually found myself in 2nd sooner than I expected. we had a lot of wet practice yesterday and nothing in the dry, so coming to the fresh track and not really knowing what it was going to do in the dry was a bit tricky. But again, you know, a lot of people in the same boat. But I'm starting 15th on the grid for the second race, so it's going to have to be a mega good start, and hopefully no one trips up in front of me. That's always the danger.
It was nearly a step down on the podium because Matt Palmer was right beside you along the line.
He was. He made me go somewhere I didn't want to go, around the outside of Coram, and I'm glad he did, because it's, you know, I've crossed the line now. I've learnt something, so I'm actually quite grateful. I could have done with him doing that to me on lap 2 and coming out ahead, and then, you know, it would have. I think it would have meant for one step up on the podium for the rest of the race. But I mean, the Mark 3s have come on so well now. Perhaps I haven't come on as far, but I'm you know, really pleased to be back into this, and you know, really enjoying it. It's a great series.
Jacqueline Ellis is a Formula 2 stock car racer, and both her mother and father raced as well. But it's her first time at a circuit race meeting. I caught up with her to find out why. So you are here at Snetterton, but you're normally out in stock car. So what exactly are you doing at Snetterton today?
I'm here just to, I'll be going around in the pace car hopefully, going to try and see a bit more about the track, see what it's like to go both ways rather than just going left. And hopefully I'll be going around to see in the race control, to see what it's like and see how the difference is between stock cars and circuit racing.
And tell us about this involvement in the Miller's Oil Rising Star scheme.
Well, it started out by winning a competition last year for the Rising Stars. In stock cars it's quite hard to get back in, so for somebody like Miller's to help us was massive really. So the Rising Stars programme put faith in those who don't really have much of a chance, so they give us a chance, and so hopefully yeah, the Miller's Oil's Rising Star programme helped the little guys to get to where the big guys need to be. So yeah, they helped us out massively.
And what does that mean for you for the rest of the season and beyond that? What involvement in motorsport are you going to have that you weren't going to be able to have otherwise?
Yeah, they have given us more development towards the cars, so that we can find out more about the engines, how they are going to run in, how to develop our cars. It has also given me more contacts in different formulas like drifting racing and circuit racing, obviously, that I'd never would have had before. So hopefully with Miller's help, it's given me open more doors for me to be able to make more contacts into other forms of motorsport. Yeah. And you're
going to be racing in the MR2 Championship later on in the year, but there's a few obstacles to get over first.
Yeah, first I need to get over the ARDS test. I need to go and complete that later on this year in September as part of the 750 Motor Club racing school. So I'll be doing that hopefully later on in the year in September, and I will be doing a race later on in September at Donington. So yeah, hopefully.
The grid for the second race of the day determined by the second fastest time set in qualifying this morning. So it's Stuart Nicholls and Ben Rowe on the front of the grid. The red lights go out, the race getting underway. Not a particularly good start there by Matthew Palmer from the outside of the second row of the grid. A Reading student who's just finished his degree actually. Oh, and someone spinning off into the background there. There's someone else on the grass. Can't quite see who they are. That's going on in the background though. Meanwhile up front the leaders have made it safely through. There is the number 73 car, which is Simon Wallis. 53 is Mark Snelling as well. We go on board with Simon's brother now, Matthew Wallis, as they head up towards Montreal Hairpin for the first time. It was eventful up here in the first race. I think everyone's made it through okay in the second race. It looks to be a lot cleaner. I noticed that Jim Davis was well and truly mired in the pack. He only started on the fourth row of the grid for this one. That's Matt Palmer up ahead. You can see in the dark blue car with the green wing, he was about to take a place away from Ben Rowe, but Ben Rowe able to repel him for the moment. It's the This car of Steve Lumley that is immediately in front of us here as we head down to the braking area for Agostini for the first time, and it looks like Matt Palmer has made it through into third place, and following him through for fourth place looks to be Steve Lumley as well. Up front though, it's Stuart Nicholls that is leading, and second place has gone the way of Alex Knight, who was third on the grid for this one. Much better second fastest time than his fastest time in actual fact, relative to the other competitors of course. So he is second. Stuart Nicholls though it is that leads, who's made a much better start this time, and Matt Palmer up to third position as they head up to Williams for the first time. There's Jim Davis, and then the pack of cars behind him with Tim Heron, Rob Wells, Matthew Wallis. 37 car is Mike Wells, of course, who had that incident at Montreal in the first lap. As we say, just back from Afghanistan as well. So welcome back onto the grid for Mike. We're on board with Matthew Wallis now, the Hot Badger Motorsport entry. And it's hot enough to get him past Mike Wells there on the run down to Brundle. Matt Palmer looking to strike for second place here. We're on board with him now. Alex Knight just ahead in the Rogue Motorsport car. They turn through corner, but Knight goes out wide there. And that's a free pass through to second place for Matt Palmer. Oh, and now Knight spins. It's gone from bad to worse for Alex Knight, I'm afraid. And that win at Brands Hatch all of a sudden is seeming like a very long time ago, I should think, for poor old Alex. There's Steve Lumley then. He's gone up to third place, making their way through Murray's now, coming up towards the end of lap 1. It's a lap that takes around about 2 minutes and 20 seconds or so for the quickest cars here. As I say, it's a new circuit for most of them. Alex Knight has got going again. That's good news. I know his wife here to support him this weekend. There's Matt Palmer. He's in second place then. And good fights going on down the order. There's the 45 car of Rob Wells with the familiar Dayglow wheels. He's just in behind Tim Heron. Then it's Mike Wells and it's Matthew Wallis. And it's Ben Rowe at the head of that group. Tim Heron fishing for a position here at Montreal hairpin. And is he going to be rewarded? Ben Rowe is holding on to the place at the moment. Down towards the left-hander at Palmer on this infield part of the circuit at Snetterton. It's third season of use now, I think. First time that the Miller's Oil's Toyota MR2 Championship was taken to it, though. It's producing some quite interesting racing because drivers, some of them getting up to speed faster than others. A few more corners to get used to compared to the normal 200 layout here at Snetterton. Right, Heron's now going to have another go at Ben Rowe, I think, as they go into the left-hander at Hamilton. And the next corner is the right-hander at Oggies. They go through a cloud of dust that's been kicked up by one of the cars ahead. Ben Rowe, we saw him run wide here in the first race, and he keeps it between the white lines this time, and he holds on to his position. But I'm not sure he's actually taking the fastest lines around the circuit. I think he might be losing a little bit of ground to the cars ahead of him. On board with Heron now. They're along the Bentley Straight. Now you can sit in behind and get a good tow, but Heron's gone early here to try and get the place away. But he's going to be on the outside line for the left-hander at Brundle. He'll need his car all ready to be ahead. Is it? That's the question. Well, I think it must be. Yes, it is, because there's no sign there of Ben Rowe, who tucks back in behind. And Tim Heron moves up one position. I should think Tim's really pleased with how his season's going so far. Still a relative newcomer to the Miller's Oil Toyota MR2 Championship. And he's acquitting himself very well indeed in these first few races of the season. On board with Mick Nicholls, his car has been patched up by the Rogue Motorsport team between races. It has had a battering in race 1, didn't it? He's just behind. And that's John Wilson there, who sideswipes a car that had been off the circuit and was trying to rejoin. I think that was Rob Wells, wasn't it? Yes, it was. And John, unfortunately, had nowhere to go. Rob was trying to rejoin the circuit quite quickly. John was already occupying that bit of tarmac. John continued unabated, but Rob has gone back off onto the grass once more, I'm afraid. So Heron and Rowe, still little to choose between them as they round Montreal hairpin. It's Mike Wells then that's next up there, Matthew Wallis in that number 72 car for the driver from St Albans. Mike Wells is a Somerset man. Now Stuart Nicholls is making this look ridiculously easy at the moment, isn't he? He's won one race and now he thinks he can just go away and dominate, doesn't he? Palmer in second, third is Lumley, and fourth, I think, is Jim Davis. Then a gap back to Tim Heron in fifth, now freed from that fight with Ben Rowe, and hopefully will try and pull away from that, because I think he was being a bit delayed by Ben Rowe maybe. And Mike Wells just in behind him, so 3 for the lead, then a gap back to Tim Heron in 4th place as they head up to Hamilton once more. Mike Wells is going to attack the Ben Rowe machine very shortly. Ben, the winner of the second of the races at Brands Hatch 4 weeks ago, came into this meeting in the joint lead of the championship with Stuart Nicholls. They both had 48 points, and Alex Knight had 46 and John Wilson 42. It was all very tight. Be interesting to see the complexion of the championship after this weekend is over. Still quite a bit more racing to be done though. Now Matt Palmer in 2nd place will be desperately trying to think of a way to get back onto the tail of Stuart Nicholls, but Nicholls has pulled out a gap of about 2 or 3 seconds already. That's going to be a lot of time to make up, especially as Palmer's going to have at least half an eye on his mirrors, because Steve Lumley's not too far away. Although saying that, as they go through Coram that time, I just had the feeling that a bit more ground was made up by Matt Palmer relative to Steve Lumley. Jim Davis there, well, fuel surge problems it was towards the end of the first race that dropped him back down the order. Not sure if those have been completely sorted now, but Jim there in 4th place, and of course he was leading the first encounter. Up towards Riches they go once more. Steve Lumley's going to have a look at Matt Palmer for 2nd place. Now, he looked to me as if he was too far back, and that proves to be the case. So it looked good on TV, but actually Steve Lumley was a couple of car lengths behind Matt Palmer with the camera angle foreshortening things there. Now down towards Montreal, Jim Davis even, 3rd time lucky, later on the brakes going into Montreal that time, but to no avail. There was a bit of smoke coming out of Steve Lumley's car there. There's Jonathan Grimes, he was in the Silver Roadster you could see there, and that's the 45 car, which is the recovering Rob Wells machine. He has just gone past the number 73 car of Simon Wallis. Cars make their way towards Montreal once more. And around that hairpin onto the infield section. It's very fraught indeed now for 2nd position. Look, Matt Palmer desperately fending off both Steve Lumley and Jim Davis. Steve Lumley going through on the inside, is he at Hamilton? He spins! Oh, and very nearly he did collect Jim Davis. I think there's damage to the front of Jim Davis's car. Steve Lumley does a full 360 and is able to continue, having lost only a couple, well, make that 3 places. But Steve Lumley just losing it there on the way out of Hamilton. Just collected Jim Davis, so a bit of damage to both cars, I think. Making their way around Oggies and now through Williams. There's the Ben Rowe car, number 7. Mike Wells behind him, and now with the bumper flailing off the back of that. Oh, it's broken free completely now. Well, that'll save a black and orange flag for Steve Lumley. But Ben Rowe, I think, is going to be able to try and get through now as they make their way along the Bentley Straight and look towards Brundle. Tim Heron just turning in ahead, and does Ben Rowe make it through? He does, but he's then on the outside line for the next part of the corner, but he has got fully ahead. So Ben Rowe makes up another position. He's now got Steve Lumley between himself and Mike Wells. Making their way down to Coram with Steve Lumley. I thought he was smoking, I think he still is. I know he was having some overheating problems earlier on today. Let's hope he's going to be able to make it through to the end of the race. Those 2 then fighting for what will be, I think, 6th and 7th positions now. Well, as the next car through, here's Matt Palmer, comfortably in 2nd there, behind Stuart Nicholls there. Jim Davis sporting that damage in 3rd, Tim Heron 4th, Ben Rowe is 5th, and 6th is Steve Lumley, so it's 5th and 6th in actual fact, and 7th is the Mike Wells car. Make their way now up to the hairpin. We had 2 non-starters for this race, by the way. Andy Franklin and Anthony Hall's unable to take the race start here. Hopefully they'll be back out for the next rounds of the championship. And towards the left-hander at Palmer they go. And it's Rowe from Lumley and Mike Wells there as they make their way through down towards Agostini by way of the banking beside the Tyrrell's restaurant. Down towards the left-hander at Agostini then. It's a hairpin, but it's quite a wide radiused corner, so it's not a very heavy brake like the corner at Montreal. You can carry more speed around the corner. And then through the left-hander at Hamilton as they go. But Stuart Nicholls, I can tell you, is still leading this race quite comfortably from Matt Palmer in 2nd place. I'm not sure, actually, that Matt Palmer's engine was sounding in the best of nick last time it came past. So Matt Palmer will be hoping that he's able to cling on to his second position, but Stuart Nicholls in the lead of this race might be a little bit too far away. We go on board with Matt Palmer now, heading up towards the vehicle bridge. It's not sounding great. Look how the wing mirror has been folded in as well by some early contact on the left-hand side of the car. Oh, and there's a stationary car, I think that was, and that must have been the number 29 car of Martin Fahey. And yes, the red flags are coming out. So the ex-Paul Hinson machine coming out. That's the car now driven by Martin Fahey, the 44-year-old freelance construction and logistics manager from Birmingham. He has come to a halt on the circuit. But we'd had more than 75% of the race distance, so the results were declared after 3 laps of racing, with Stuart Nicholls getting the win from Matthew Palmer by 3.46 seconds. It worked out well for Steve Lumley, because despite that moment, he was promoted back into 3rd place. 4th with the wedge of Jim Davis, and 5th was Tim Heron.
Stuart Nicholls, great victory in race number 2 as well. This weekend couldn't have got any better, really.
I really genuinely didn't expect that. I thought the Snetterton 300 was really going to suit the Mark IIs, but my car's just been absolutely epic all weekend.
And it was a nice margin in race 2 as well. You managed to pull away. Was that due to the guys battling behind?
I definitely think that the guys battling behind helped me pull away, and then I just knew I just had to be consistent, banging in really, really quick laps, and the gap just kept getting bigger, and that's really what I wanted.
You now move on to the next round. So are you trying to keep this build-up of good performances going?
My goal genuinely for this season was to get a podium, and I've had 2 second places at Brands, and now I've had 2 firsts. Yes, I'm going to keep this momentum going if I can, definitely.
You're above expectations at the minute. Good luck for the next round.
Thanks very much.
2nd place, Matt Palmer. 3rd place in race number 1. All in all, good weekend for you?
Yeah, if I'd have been offered 2nd and 3rd before ever driving this track before, then yeah, I'd definitely have taken it at the beginning of the weekend. But with our strong qualifying, I was hoping to build on it during the races. 2nd place in the 2nd race was good, but the engine was really not very well on the last few laps. So I'm glad the red flag came out when it did, because I don't know if it would have lasted for the rest of the race.
From your point of view, race number 2, was it as manic as race number 1?
No, I managed to make my way to the front quite quickly this time, and luckily I didn't have to have any last lap lunges on John Wilson like last time, but it seemed a bit more calm. There wasn't as much fender bashing. So
well done on 2nd place.
Thanks a lot.
Well, Stuart Nicholls now leads the championship by 18 points from John Wilson. Tim Heron up to 3rd on 81 points. We head to Pembrey next, but we'll rejoin the action at Donington Park. Bye for now.